How do I possibly live that water feature lifestyle without having 100 grand? There's so many awesome ways to continue to live that lifestyle on a tighter budget. So many of you guys are probably like me getting excited because spring is in the air and we're just like, how do we get outside and play in our yard? And I think a lot of people think, especially you guys that are watching this water feature channel, how do I possibly live that water feature lifestyle without having 100 grand? Because so many of the projects we build have these $100,000, $200,000, $500,000 budgets on it. And here's the exciting news, you guys, there's so many awesome ways to continue to live that lifestyle on a tighter budget. We have this enormous amount of Fountainscapes. Traditionally, when I talk about Fountainscapes, and I'm talking to homeowners about Fountainscapes, they always think of the boring kind of block concrete shell that falls into a concrete shell, that falls into a concrete shell, and it's very antique, it's very European, I don't know, it's just boring, and that's not what we're talking about at all. Aquascape over the years has been developing different types of Fountainscapes that fit every corner of your yard and really every style. And for us, it all started with a chisel and some rock. We used this rock slate, and one day I got bored and I started building this big giant stack slate urn. And as I built and chipped away and started stacking this stuff, it really started taking on a shape. And the intent was never ever for this thing to be mass produced. It was really just built out of boredom. I had a good friend of mine that showed me kind of a technique on how to stack this slate. And so I took some ceramics background that I had from school and this new technique of stacking slate and put it all together and built this urn. Everybody loved it. And so we built a couple other ones after that. And what we quickly realized is the $30,000, $40,000 budget you would need for me to custom build one of these stack slate urns was not practical. And so Aquascape came out, quickly took a mold of the original one I built and took my little side business and put it right out the window, which was a good thing because me spending 3 to 5 days building a stack slate urn was not a practical thing. Now we mass produce the big stack slate urn in all different sizes. I think there's actually 5 sizes from an 8-foot one all the way down to maybe like a 15, 16-inch size one. I think there's even a little baby one somewhere in there. And then after those, we said, gosh, these Fountainscapes could really take off. And we started coming up with different creative ideas. One of my all-time favorites are the Mongolian Basalt Columns. I think I love the Mongolian Basalt Columns because when I first saw them, my mind instantly went to Superman crystals. And I thought like, gosh, if I could take one and go this way, another one go this way, and do all these different things, you could get really creative. But they look fantastic in a front yard. There's always that weird little spot where the sidewalk comes up to the front door and you're kind of wondering, what do I do between the sidewalk and the edge of my house? And there's always 5-6 feet to kind of play around with there. And all of these fountain features look incredible in that space. As you start thinking of the basalt columns as the 3, then you start saying, well, gosh, what would 5 look like? And then what would 9 look like? And then what would it look like if I had fire coming out of them? In fact, my personal waterfall in my house is built out of 45 of them because I wanted to do that Superman crystal thing. After the fountain rocks, we did some spillway bowls. I love the spillway bowls that kind of fall into each other. And the whole idea of the bowls, the fountain bowls we call them now, started from a mistake. And the mistake was my kids playing with the patio. We called them patio ponds back then. They were playing with a patio pond in the front yard and they were filling it up. It was the one thing that they were supposed to maintain. Well, every year they would decorate that. And the one thing they had to do to maintain it was to fill it up. And of course, like so many people, they threw the hose in there and forgot that it was running. And I heard it because it was a very distinct sound of a waterfall. And what was happening is water was coming out of the little area on the back of the patio bowl, creating this little perfect horsetail fountain. Well, from there, we said, why don't we start plumbing these things up and turning them into different types of water features? And so we would turn them into a water feature on the side of a pond. We started hanging them from chains and getting creative with them. We started doing all kinds of different things.
Not only were we able to add these bowls to the sides of ponds and to start off waterfalls for aesthetic purposes, but we could actually turn them into filters. So we're taking your pond and now cleaning it, filtering it, circulating it that much more, and with very little work, adding so much more beauty.
There's one with a little snout on it, and one is just a big 40-inch area where water just kind of spills out over it. These look great, especially in the corner of a yard, kind of tucked up along the house. And all of these, just like any water feature, look so good once the landscape comes in. Then we started doing the spheres. We took the same technique that we did the stack slate urns out of and started doing stack slate spheres. We had a 24, we had a 30, a 36, and now we have a 50-inch sphere, which is just incredible. This big giant ball looks so amazing. What I like about the fountain features, people say, don't you get bored doing these? I'm like, no, I don't ever get bored. And every single one I put in, I try to get better and better with them. But the imagination, the creativity that can happen with these different things, whether it's an urn, a bowl, a sphere, the basalt columns, we said, gosh, they look fantastic by themselves, but what if we started actually integrating them into larger fountainscapes? And I had the vision one time of doing a big giant entrance at a flower and garden show, and I called my good friends, Jack Harju, BJ Linger, Chris. I had a bunch of guys come out and help me do this, and I said, hey, we're gonna stack these different urns up, and I want bowls mixed with the urns, mixed with natural waterfalls, and kind of stack slate in between, and we'll do fire and all this stuff. And from there, then people started really getting creative. When I say people, are certified aquascape contractors across the country. I remember Joey Genovese out of Canada being inspired. He said, I love what you're doing with the bowls. What if I hung them from chains? And he hung these from chains. And I was so blown away by his exhibit at his flower show that next year when we did ours, then I started hanging them from chains. And then another CAC hung them from chains inside of our sandbox. You see how addictive it can be. I can do it for you, but it's not that hard. If you can picture digging a hole 4 feet wide, 4 foot long by 16, 18 inches deep, you can build any one of these features yourself. The hardest part about the entire installation is digging that hole. Once the hole is dug and the reservoir, this aqua basin reservoir, is put down into the ground, all the other stuff comes pretty easy. So let me show you step by step on how you actually do this. So here we are in our sandbox. Everybody's kind of talking things over right here. You can see that aqua basin kind of tucked in just to the right of the patio. So put yourself in this position. Like, you guys have patios, you guys have decks. Where would be the best place for your fountain feature? Look at the views from inside your house, and where do your eyes land when you're inside your house looking out? Where do your eyes land as you're coming up your driveway? If you're thinking that this would be a great curb appeal type thing or a front yard water feature. So we've laid that out. You can see the aqua basin got dug in. Then we come in here and look at this bib liner. So there's this big, large liner that goes all the way outside the drip zone of that aqua basin. Now that bib liner is really important. And what it's gonna do is allow me to catch any additional splash that might go outside the aqua basin perimeter there. And then there's Jack installing the pump. Super easy. Glue some stuff up. That pump is gonna then send water over to our aqua basin. There's a quick little union fitting. It's gonna glue up some pipe. Now Jack's upgraded the plumbing in here to an 1.5 inch pipe. A kit comes with all of the plumbing and everything you need. The reason he's upgrading the 1.5 inch pipe is to get a little bit more flow out of this, which will allow water to kind of disperse out a little further. He's gone ahead and customized a light inside of it. He drilled out a hole, put this light in there, just kind of wedged in, and we'll just kind of put some silicone around that. Remember, if it leaks a little bit at that point, it doesn't matter at all, because everything's gonna leak back down through the center of that urn into that aqua basin down below, and that pump's gonna grab it. Now here he is making sure that that urn is totally level. Really easy, guys. Make sure your aqua basin is really level first, and then everything on top of it will level off that much easier. But he levels it off. Once he gets it level, then he throws ballast inside, just some spare cobble, some bags of gravel, whatever you want to put inside, really to help anchor this thing in place. You can see how light it is, so we want it to be pretty rigid inside and make sure it's not gonna move around. A lot of times just bagged gravel and keep it right inside the bag and just kind of put it inside works really well. Now he's leveling off the top. Once it's level side to side, then level it front to back. If it wasn't to be visible from 360 degrees, you might even tilt it one direction or the other. And when I say tilt it, just like a fraction. It doesn't need much to push it one direction versus another direction. Once he's got it level, he's gonna kind of trim up that liner, get rid of some of the major excess liner on there. Then we're gonna cover all of that with rock and gravel. And this is where the small amount of artistic creativity comes in. How you place this gravel, how you add accent boulders is gonna change the look of it. I like adding a couple rocks here or there. Obviously the plants that go around it make or break it. Especially with an urn, we want some height. You can see how those arborvitaes around there really help kind of scale it down. More importantly, give it a nice backdrop so the feature feels a lot more intimate. Plugging away, getting the lights in. We've got that one light up on top, and then you can see those cords of lights for little lights that are gonna shine up. Big trick, guys. Don't put those lights too close to the urn. If you get it too close to the urn, it'll put a big hot spot on the urn itself when we turn the lights on. So back it off a little bit, then shine it more back at it. It'll literally at night look like silver is falling off the thing. It looks pretty incredible. Notice the size gravel he's using. Now he used some big gravel in the beginning. Smaller gravel will absorb a lot more of the splash. So if you think of that water falling all the way down, as it hits a cobble or hits big gravel, then that water almost wants to explode and splash way out past the drip line of even that bib liner we put in there. If we do small gravel, think of it as like a sponge, and it actually absorbs that water and grabs that water and keeps it from splashing all over the place. So here it is all lit up, we're filling it up, and there it is running. This project, you guys could do yourself easily in one weekend. I'd love to say in a Saturday or a Sunday. We do it with 2 guys in about 3 hours, so 6 total man hours. Any single one of you guys watching could probably do this in a short weekend. If you don't want to do it yourself, have us do it for you. Now let's just kind of shut up for a little bit and show you all kinds of different things that contractors have done all across the country using different Fountainscapes. Even some extreme Fountainscapes like rain chains and piano fountains and things like that. You guys, thank you so much for watching. Hopefully we've inspired you. Hopefully we've educated you just a touch, and you guys can put some of this stuff in your own backyards, front yards, whatever it is. Hey, if you do, share some pictures with us. We'd love to see what you're doing. Like, comment, subscribe, show me your photos in the comment section there, and we'll see you guys very soon.